Okay, we just have to be honest with ourselves. Here's what we need to do on Monday Night Raw going forward. As we said yesterday on Elimination Chamber Ups and Downs, change the name of the show to Monday Night Bobby, and when Bobby Lashley isn't on the screen, other wrestlers should be like, hey man, where's Bobby Lashley? So we are just stealing idea from The Simpsons, and we are going to turn Bobby Lashley into Poochie. But my word, he is the coolest, most badass wrestler ever, and I have no idea if that's the plan, but I do know if I was a kid and I was watching Monday Night Bobby right now, I'd be like, man, when I grow up, I want to be Bobby Lashley. And we are going to talk about all of that and more, but also thank you so much for putting your suggestions in last week's Retro Ups and Downs comment section. And for your poll this week, we have the following 4 shows. We have the 4th of January 1999 Raw, when Mankind did win his first ever WWF title. We have the first ever NXT takeover. We have TNA Unbreakable from 2005, when it was AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe. And then randomly, WrestleMania 12 popped up. We're gonna talk about the Iron Man match. If you vote for it, go to the community page and do that right now. But before then, we take this, the finger of power, and we give the good bits up and the bad bits are down for the latest episode of Monday Night Bobby. So it has been controversial, no doubt, but this is why I love Money in the Bank cash-ins, because the Miz and John Morrison were out to kick things off, and they were just doing Miz TV, and usually I'd be going, oh man, somebody ripped my brain out, I don't want to see this again. But now that the Miz is WWE Champion, somebody had turned on my intrigue switch. Which isn't a thing. Unsurprisingly, we had a big celebration too, like we had a red carpet, there were balloons everywhere, John Morrison was the happy best friend sidekick on the entire planet, and when the Miz did start speaking, he even said, how do you like me now? Which was like a reference back to when he was first WWE Champion, and even back then people were saying, I don't want the Miz to be WWE Champion. The more things change. Miz even started taking shots of people from that era, saying that Batista is now just making buddy cop movies, and John Cena is starring in commercials. I kind of put my hand around the Miz and I was like, Miz, listen to me a second. Batista is in the Marvel Universe, and John Cena is probably about to take his movie career up to another level when he debuts in Suicide Squad. I think these are very good insults. That aside, his career has been amazing, and he even said that here, because he is now the first ever 2-time Grand Slam champion in WWE history. And this was a dude back in 2005 and 2006 when not only wrestlers, but fans were going, well, this guy won't even last a week. And now look at him. I think The Miz is quite inspiring. So he's basically trying to tell us that he is the best, but you just knew what was going to happen. You could probably time your watch by it. And after around about 5 minutes, out came MVP, but more importantly, out came Bobby Lashley. They quickly reminded The Miz that the only reason he was able to beat Drew McIntyre for that belt is because Bobby Lashley had destroyed the Scottish Psychopath before then, and that MVP and The Miz had made a deal at the Elimination Chamber, and that's when we saw them talking. And it was nice and simple, it was nice and easy. Bobby will help you, Miz, but then tonight on Raw, you gotta take on Lashley. That's what they wanted right now. But I love all of this though, because we've talked about it before. Raw especially had fallen into this pattern when somebody's walked up to a champion and said, oh, hello there, could I please have a championship shot? And the champion goes, by Jove, you can, and they have a match. But here, it is drowning in story, it can go in so many directions, so it gets me more invested. Instantly, The Miz reneged on this, because of course he is a massive coward, so Bobby Lashley grabbed him and said, you better do what you promised, otherwise you're going to start in a new reality TV show called How the Hell Did The Miz Wind Up in the Emergency Room? And I was like, Lashley, you really need to work on that title. You've given away the end of the show thanks to the name. They then threatened The Miz once more and said he had 60 minutes to make his decision. And we all knew what was going to happen here. This was Bobby Lashley, hero to all, lover to many. He was just going to whip everybody's ass. You just didn't know when. Still, I enjoyed all of this, and there was another swerve in the sense that Drew McIntyre wasn't on Raw at all, and I actually think that was a good move because it got you thinking, I'm giving it an up. We were then backstage with the Lucha House Party, and they were congratulating Riddle on his big win last night. And Riddle thought they were talking about Call of Duty. When they mentioned that they were referring to the US Championship victory, Riddle was like, oh yeah, that was pretty good too. And usually I would get mad about this because instantly you've taken this piece of gold and you've kind of demoted it. But it is well hard to win in Warzone. And right now somebody said to me, Simon, do you want to be the US champion or do you want to win a Warzone match? I may actually pick Warzone. Hell, I'll pick Fortnite. Why is it so difficult? Sadly, however, Riddle has decided to call his belt Travis, and as soon as he had told us that, he got on a scooter and he glided away. And after putting some thought into it, I don't think this version of Matt Riddle is ever going to be headlining WrestleMania. He was, however, going to face John Morrison in a non-title match and explain that one. Riddle had beaten John Morrison clean at the pay-per-view. Bobby Lashley had got screwed over. I mean, Bobby Lashley got hit by a crutch, but Bobby Lashley doesn't care, so these two are just gonna fight. Okay. And I thought this was pretty good, and sure, there are a few shaky bits here and there, but come on, my friends, they are just human beings, and think about what we saw here. Because we saw a floating bro to the outside, a Spanish fly. At one point, Riddle was going for the bro to sleep, but John Morrison kind of just ignored that and super kicked him in the face. There's that wrestling tennis. Johnny also went for Starship Pain, but I swear, much like Jeff Hardy in the Swanton Bomb, which we'll get into later, that thing never hits, and Riddle basically just caught him here, gave him the bro Derek, and beat him once again clean for the 1-2-3. It also means Riddle is now 1-0 when it comes to his US Championship reign, and I honestly have no idea what direction this is going to go in, and I have no idea who the hell he's going to be feuding with. Because when it comes to Riddle, it could literally be anything. I mean, maybe we just have a Street Fighter tournament and the winner becomes the new US champ. I would watch that, but still, up. We then finally got a video saying that Rhea Ripley was coming to Raw. Now, one, why the hell did it take so long? I don't know. And two, why didn't we use any momentum that we had built at the Royal Rumble? And I also don't know, but I don't care. There were two of these. Everyone made out like it was the biggest deal ever, and when she comes in, she should be treated like Bobby Lashley. Let her destroy anyone who even looks at her in the face. Up. It was Bad Bunny time next, and if you were really quiet, you could hear people getting super mad at their keyboards, and we already know the deal. He's the 24/7 champion now, so he has to be involved in all the 24/7 champion goofiness. Because he was being interviewed with Damien Priest here, where in the corner you could see R-Truth and a referee sneaking around, and then Damien Priest just looked at R-Truth and said, "Hey, I can see you, don't try and get one over us." R-Truth then made a Bugs Bunny joke, and that was basically it. And I don't mind Mr. Bunny on these shows, I really don't, and in fact I think where the focus should be going is onto the 24/7 championship and either getting rid of it entirely or at least coming up with something new. Again, going back to what we said earlier, Simon, do you want to be the 24/7 champion or do you want to win at Warzone? That one ain't even hard. The Miz was then talking to Adam Pearce, and what an idiot. Imagine making a deal with the Hurt Business and then being surprised when they came to collect. Anyway, Adam was like, "Look, Miz, you are great, you are awesome, look at what you've done, but if I were you, you really need to take on Bobby Lashley, otherwise he's probably going to stab you right in the face." And that was a little bit weird, because I was like, surely Adam Pearce has the power to just make that match. But apparently not. It was then time to finally do something between the New Day and Retribution, and we should have done this. It carries on the narrative, but I couldn't help but feel like I'd been slapped in the face, because all Mustafa Ali has done, rightfully so, has gone, "Oh, Kofi Kingston, you're a fraud. Kofi Kingston, you snuck into the Elimination Chamber match." And yet during that whole thing, there was no Mustafa Ali and there was no Retribution, but they are still feuding because they fought here. I can't let that one go because I'm a massive nerd. Down. And I swear at one point Retribution would attack a food truck because it wasn't serving burgers, but they wouldn't do this. This also ties into the match because what was the point? Retribution, or Mason T-Bar, had the match won after a double chokeslam thing, but Mustafa Ali was just in the mood to see some more violence, so he said, "Do it again, do it again." And when they went to do it again, Kofi Kingston hit the Trouble in Paradise, and the New Day won. And just to make this even more ridiculous, afterwards Mustafa Ali was like, "Man, you all suck, you're the worst group ever. Why do you always do this?" I just wanted to go up and say, "Mustafa, this was you. If you had just let them get on with it, they would have won. So you need to look in the mirror." So I think they're going to break up soon, which is probably the right move, and the highlight of all of this is when Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston noticed that Mia Yim/Reckoning was back, and they lost their damn minds. I will always enjoy the New Day. And then, man, how I laughed. Let's go. Because the 1 hour time limit was up, so Adam Pearce, Bobby Lashley, and The Miz with MVP were all in the ring, and the Hurt Business were super pissed off because The Miz came out here in his suit, which meant he wasn't ready to fight. Just as Miz was making his excuses though, all of a sudden we heard, "Raw!" And out came Braun Strowman, and I was like, whoa, what the hell is gonna happen now? He still looks like he just finished doing his gardening, and he was shouting, "I deserve a championship match," when then Shane McMahon's music hit, and honestly, my head was so confused, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I half expected me all of a sudden to be walking into the Thunderdome, it would have made as much sense, and then Shane McMahon was berating Adam Pearce, saying, "You don't run a very tight ship," and then he focused on Braun Strowman, and kind of ran down the monster among men. Because he reminded Braun that he's being a bit of an idiot because the stipulation for the chamber match was former WWE champions and he's a former Universal champion. On a quick side note, this is why you shouldn't have two world champions. Strowman then said that everybody sucked like he was in 5th grade before Shane McMahon basically went, well, I think you suck. But the only thing that apparently nobody thought sucked was doing Bobby Lashley versus Braun Strowman in our main event. And if Braun Strowman wins, he will be put in a triple threat match next week when it will be Bobby Lashley versus The Miz for the WWE title. But if he loses, he won't. Ow. Unfortunately, Strowman forgot who he was dealing with, so as soon as this segment was about to finish, Bobby Lashley just beat the hell out of him. He ran at his leg, he gave it a chop block, and he hit him so hard, I actually thought his leg was going to come off. Because never forget this, it doesn't matter how big you are, everybody falls to Bobby Lashley, who is basically Zeus. I'm also now a little bit worried because this is the second interaction we've had between Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman, so I've changed my mind. They're not going to be together at WrestleMania, they are actually going to have a match. So if you've wanted to see Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon, you're going to get it. And I think if you have wanted to see that, you're either Braun Strowman or Shane McMahon. I did kind of think that we took a simple story here and messed it up. However, when we did get to this main event, I completely changed my mind. So let's just move forward. The Hurt Business was then taking on the Lucha House Party again. And I was like, does Grandmother Metalik and Lince Dorado have some kind of incriminating picture against management so they can just get whatever the hell they want? This was one rematch too many, down. However, they're really good. Of course they are. And whenever they're in the ring, I have a good time. So, you know, it's ups and downs, which is very handy, meaning I can give it an up. It didn't go very long, mind. I mean, I think it topped out around about 5 minutes. And even though the Lucha House Party did have a little bit of offense, Cedric Alexander broke up a near fall, and then Shelton Benjamin hit the pay dirt. 1, 2, 3. They are still your tag team champions, although I don't even think the belts were on the line. But I do like it when the Hurt Business is all in cahoots. They're just great. We really do need a proper tag team title feud soon, so let's get the World Championship onto Bobby Lashley as soon as we can, and then do something with Shelton and Cedric, and MVP can be going, man, I'm the best, I've got the best group. Because that's what they are. They are the best group. The roundabout then continued too, because it was Damien Priest versus Angel Garza, although this time Angel doesn't have any friends because the Miz and Morrison have ran off to do something else. But when it comes to Damien Priest, as long as he wins right now, I am okay with it. He should be groomed to be a massive star. Up. I also think this was a distraction finish. I mean, I didn't think it was a distraction finish, but the commentators told me it was a distraction finish, so I found myself in a very weird predicament. It was like, well, do I bring down the board and mark it up, or do I not? And I guess we have to go with the story, so there it is, and we're on 31. But yeah, I mean, at one point, Angel Garza was in control. He clotheslined Damien Priest over the top rope, and then he was kind of goading Bad Bunny, who started climbing up the stairs, but this wasn't a distraction. This was Angel Garza being an absolute dick. Because when he turned around, Damien Priest was back and he just beat him up. He also finished it off with the Hit the Lights, which used to be the Reckoning, but now we're no longer calling it the Reckoning because WWE realized, oh wait, we also have a character called the Reckoning. Now I would have changed the character back to Mia Yim, but that's just me. 24/7 Geeks ran out afterwards and Damien Priest basically did away with them, although Bad Bunny did kind of attack Drew Gulak. So we are absolutely building to some kind of match at WrestleMania. And as I've made very clear, I'm fine with it, whatever. And then, well, I think Papa Shango has returned to the WWE. I do love nostalgia. Basically, Randy Orton was cutting a promo saying he's been failing a lot recently and he doesn't know why. And I was like, Randy, no, you've got this all wrong. You're a success for trying it in the first place and for putting yourself in the position. So I'm really proud of you, Orton, and I know one day you're gonna be the champion again. So I wanted him to turn that frown upside down, but I don't think that is gonna happen, because as he got to the end of his promo, and as always, Randy Orton does very good, he started to cough, and then a bunch of black goo just came out of his mouth. So I can only assume that somewhere Alexa Bliss and The Fiend were going tee-hee-hee, and they used their voodoo powers to make this happen, and I was a bit like, look, if you're gonna do that, and you are able to make this kind of stuff happen, why don't you just kill him? Sorry, that was a little bit too much, I take it back. And the best bit was we then cut to Samoa Joe, who just went, well, what the hell was that? And I was like, too right, Samoa Joe, I have no idea. Once again, I appreciate WWE doing a long-term storytelling. I quite like wrestling goofiness. This was a little bit too much to me. Like when the black goo came out of Randy Orton's mouth, I laughed, and I don't think that was what WWE was going for. So I gotta give it a down. And then it was yet another rematch. So if the other one was one too many, this was two too many, so it's a down. Because it was Charlotte and Asuka taking on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and I'm pretty sure this was a non-title match. So who keeps doing this? Who wants it? Can somebody please give me an answer?
It was me, the wizard in the sky, the person secretly controlling WWE. So when random things do happen, you're like, what the flub is happening? You can look up to the sky and know I'll be smiling down on you. I made Charlotte Flair and Asuka versus Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax because I just feel so sorry for Charlotte Flair. I mean, when was the last time she was the champion? I think it was more than 12 minutes ago, so I had to interfere. So I went hullabaloo, and I used my powers, and now we're on the way to Charlotte Flair Town. I don't know what that is, but don't forget, I have powers, and if you say anything, I'll make it happen. Wizard in the sky.
Oh, right. Well, that makes sense. Although I am still a little bit annoyed because the Women's Championship at this stage may as well just be hanging out on Mars. It was standard stuff as well because I think now we are transitioning to Charlotte Flair versus Asuka because obviously Lacey Evans has been pregnant and needs to be written out of the story. So at one point, Asuka was holding Shayna Baszler and Charlotte went to kick her and Shayna Baszler got out of the way, so she kicked Asuka right in the face and then Nia Jax dropped the legs, 1, 2, 3, and your tag team champions win. And also, if I'm Nia Jax, I'd be going, excuse me, can I please have a world title match? In the past 48 hours, not only have I pinned the SmackDown Women's Champion, but I just pinned the Raw Women's Champion too. Charlotte tried to make good afterwards, but Asuka was having none of it, so here we are now building to these two having a fight. And also, my word, when Asuka was about to win, she was going to lock in the Asuka lock, Shayna Baszler got in the ring and she booted her right in the head, and you could see it in Asuka's face afterwards. She was like, oh my gosh, that was vicious. We also had an odd encounter between Charlotte Flair and Ric Flair later on too, and I think what we're actually doing is we're just putting this to bed because once again, Lacey Evans has got a kid and she's going to have to go home at some point. But Charlotte was all like, Dad, you need to leave, you need to go away. And Ric Flair was like, man, I'm just trying to do whatever I can for the Flair name. And while both performances were actually pretty good, I kind of feel like we've done this story in WWE at least 79 times. There was also some ambiguity here because Ric Flair was like, well, I never said the baby was mine. And Charlotte was like, well, you do really like blondes. And look, let's just draw a line under it. Usually I like to have a conclusion. Sometimes you just gotta go, this wasn't massively working, goodbye. And what did I say yesterday on the Elimination Chamber ups and downs and shows? Well, Jeff Hardy needs to retire the Swanton Bomb. He always has matches won, and he goes, oh, I'm gonna do the Swanton, and he misses. And guess what happened when he fought Sheamus? He hit the Twist of Fate, although it was more like a stunner. He went for this stupid move. Sheamus got out of the way, Bro kicked him in the face, Jeff Hardy loses again, and the Irishman won. I actually did think it was quite enjoyable though, so I am going to give it an up, and I really hope we have some kind of plan for Sheamus. I think he's on a tear right now, and really, I guess we should be building to Sheamus versus AJ Styles, and I think maybe we are. Although before that, it was Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke taking on Naomi and Lana. Because round and round and round we go, where we stop, nobody knows. We just see the same thing every week. A brand new feud is what I seek. Down. And it went 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Naomi and Lana hit a double face planter buster thingamajig, and they got the 1, 2, 3. And that was just that. Do you remember when Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose were a really good team and were having really good feuds? No, nor do I. I was then in Two Worlds. I'm not talking about that awful video game from a while back, because it was AJ Styles versus Ricochet, but it only went around about 3 minutes, and I was like, man, I kind of wanted more. But then I realized, would I rather have one slice of pizza or no pizza ever again? So I'm giving it up. The other reason for this is because it was yet another clean finish on Raw, and I couldn't believe it. Now, it is a shame that Ricochet always loses, but at least when you reduce the shenanigans, when you do want to do a shenanigan, it feels shenanigan-y. And I know we already saw this a few weeks ago, but maybe Ricochet just wanted another chance at getting into the Royal Rumble, and my favourite part is that we had a callback to that match. Because AJ went for that Nut Styles clash again when he bounced Ricochet off the ropes, but this time Ricochet was able to turn it into a Hurricane Rana. I know it wasn't as smooth as you would have wanted it, but I actually kind of liked that. It made it look real. If they had had a little bit more time, I think this could have been really good, and it did just end when Ricochet walked into the Styles clash and AJ got the 1, 2, 3. And afterwards, I think Styles and Omos wanted to get some revenge from the Elimination Chamber when Drew McIntyre had basically thrown him up into the ether. Because Omos did the same to Ricochet. He grabbed him by the throat, and honestly, he put him so high in the air, I thought NASA was going to get in touch and go, oh, there's somebody in our airspace, can you go and sort it out? He then just dropped him down to the mat, and I'm going to level with you. I really like Omos. I hope he's getting ready to have some kind of big match. I will support him. Miz and Morrison were then freaking out because they didn't know what the best option was. Do they want it to be Miz versus Bobby Lashley, or do they want Braun Strowman in there? And that's when Braun arrived and these two just ran off, probably because they were worried that Strowman was going to start talking to them about gardening. This was the tease to let you know that Braun versus Bobby was coming up next. And as we learned, there is no exception to the Bobby Lashley rule. Doesn't matter if you're really, really big, doesn't matter if you're really, really small. If you get in the ring with Bob Lashley, he will murder you, he will kill you, you will be destroyed. And you know what? Damn right, if we have been building him up this whole time to become the world champion and have a feud with Drew McIntyre or whoever, then this should have been the end point. You can plug me right into it, I'm getting it up. No, wait, it's getting it up. It's been a very long day. And yeah, honestly, death, it didn't go 5 minutes. Braun Strowman hit him with a power slam, but Bobby Lashley kicked out, and then he hit Braun Strowman with a spine buster, finished him off with a spear, and pinned him for the 1-2-3. I've had bathroom breaks that were harder than this. Bobby Lashley made it look easy. Braun then tried to beat him up afterwards, but Bob was like, you kinda kill me, and he made him pass out to the Hurt Lock, and then for some reason the Miz, who had been on commentary, he tried to interfere, and Lashley beat him up too. It meant Monday Night Bobby finished with Lashley holding the WWE title above his head, and I think it's only a matter of time we are looking at our brand new WWE Champion. Because honestly, flub me, he's just a murder machine. I actually think what we should do is this. Drew McIntyre should interfere next week. We should then do a triple threat match at Fastlane. Sheamus should interfere in that, which means Bobby Lashley wins. But then you can do Sheamus versus Drew at WrestleMania. But it won't be a main event match, and you should find someone else for Bobby, because I want Bobby to have this title, and I want him to hold it a while. And if he faces Drew at WrestleMania, then Drew should win it back, but let's hold it off. Now let's all calm down and forget that I just did some stupid fantasy booking. But based on this one angle, I actually got a massive kick out of Raw, and also I hope next week it's Bobby Lashley versus the entire Raw roster, and it ends with Bobby Lashley winning. I don't know if this is the plan, like I say, but my word, he's just the best man on the planet, and amazingly, because of that, Raw is getting up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought of Raw, and of course, Bobby Lashley, hero to us all, and go vote in the Retro Ups and Downs poll. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, follow WhatCulture on social media, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. There's videos right there. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching me as always, and I'll see you on the next one.